So I believe this is going to be your British record attempt.
Yeah.
Going in there. No, and we got some ads.
Oh, we got that. Got to get that ad revenue.
Hey, we're feeding the ad revenue for the Stoltmans, right? Let's see. All right. So kind of start off, when do you think about like what cues do you think about when you're lapping the log? Do you believe that you have to like stand up all the way, or do you immediately you can get it over your knees? Do you lap it right there? What do you think about that?
I usually prefer to kind of stand up fully with it. And then by doing that, then as I'm sitting down with it, if I pull it straight up onto my knees, I don't think I can get as much of a dip with my glutes. I can't get them down as much. So if I kind of stand up almost to full extension and then sit down with that, I can squat down better, I feel. Again, everyone's different. You know, I see a lot of people just, you know, picking it straight up onto their legs, and that works great. But yeah, at the moment, I do a couple of little kind of things now before I lift. I kind of pull it, yeah, so I kind of tilt it forward, kind of give the the log a little talking to when I touch it, and then yeah, just kind of super focused. I'm not really thinking anything. So as you can see, I'm kind of sitting up, popping down with it. So yeah, I'm trying to almost get into that hole. You know, when we squat as well, you get into that hole and you squat, so everything's there. I'm ready to explode. And with the clean, my clean, I think is pretty. A lot of the time, it feels quite effortless when but I need to be. I think probably a lot of guys will be the same. Probably yourself. You need to be in that aggressive kind of headspace. You know, it's not necessarily thinking about anything, but it's just you have that aggression, you have that kind of self-belief, that power, that kind of that want to do it, and that's where I was here. I was fired up, man. It was pretty cool, and you can see, you know, I've got a little multi-cuff on the elbow as well. I get a little bit of tendonitis in the elbow when I go quite heavy on the log, which is a bit of a pain at times, but you know, again, when the adrenaline's going and stuff, you don't really feel anything like that.
So on the clean portion, what kind of cues do you think about? It looks like you have that pre-pinned on like your upper abdomen, like upper sternum, sternum right there.
Yeah,
now,
so really tuck it in. I really try and squeeze it in till, like you say, that kind of upper belly, kind of lower chest, really pop it in there. And just keep the elbows nice and high, nice and tight as well. And as I'm just about to pop up, I really try and drive my hips through as quick as I can.
Right. Let's take a look. Big hips. Oh,
yeah.
Easier.
So yeah, I mean,
every time.
Yeah, I mean, it should be effortless. Do you know, like that's the thing. And I've tried as well, this is a quick one as well, about grip shirts. And I'm not trying to down grip shirts or anything like that, but for me personally, when I'm pressing a log, I don't know about you, but I found that at Arnold's, I initially had the grip shirt on, but sometimes I need to reposition that log in the racked position. And I find with the grip shirt, I can't do that. I couldn't do that as well. So you can see I've kind of got that log nice and high up in my chest. Elbows are nice and high. If there's another view, you'll probably see my hips are kind of going to get pushed forward a little bit. Chest is kind of trying to push towards the ceiling.
You have like high elbows. You of course you're shortening that range of motion. And then what do you think normally? What do you think about on the dip? Do you? I know, of course, usually when we're using a log, that's going to sit a little more forward. So usually you're going to have to be a little more knee heavy compared to be able to kind of use your hips. But what do you normally think about kind of on your dip there? What kind of cues do you?
I mean, yeah. Again, when I'm pressing it, I don't really think about much. You know, it's again, it sounds a bit daft, but you just go through those motions again because you've done it a million times over and over and over again. So again, I look to try and get as much power as I can from my legs, and I know my kind of core stability is, you know, good now. My triceps are strong. I've got big legs. I've got a big ass. I've got, you know, powerful lower body. So I need to utilize that as much as I can. I don't look for the dip, if that makes sense. You see a lot of guys looking to dip, and it kind of almost gets lost in that moment, if that makes sense. So you see Big Z press, he does a very minimal dip, Eddie, when he pressed, he was completely strict pressing. I'm quite leg dominant. You know, I look for a lot of power in my legs, and it works for me. So it's almost finding that balance. You know, whatever it is that works for you. But it's it's cool when you get it right. Like this was a good log press. You know, in the build up for
Fast.
You know, so it was. That's a decent press. You know, I was quite happy with that, as you can probably see from the celebration.
Held it up there. Maybe show Iron BB how to hold the log up there, right?
As we got a big bogey in my nose, or something, some snots in my nose, and yeah, I think I had too much pre-workout that day. That was
well, you know, it was tough. You know, it was a tough time in 2020. There wasn't, of course, a lot going on. You had these things to look forward to. We, like us as like kind of like the viewers, we had something to kind of look forward to. So you really had to kind of bring it. You had to bring some entertainment factor. So this is so here's so everything that, of course, Luke just talked about. So a nice side angle. So has a nice lap, high elbows. He has that high on his chest before he stands. Throws the big hips. Big drive, and then you're squeezing those, like after you drive and you have that in the air, are you really thinking about like squeezing your glutes?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, squeezing the glutes. My quads, I use my quads as well, you know, just to bring it forward as well. Lock out the quads, make sure they're nice and tight. I get a bit of cramp sometimes in my quads if I tense them too hard. So as you can see, the pop, squeeze, pop, lock out. Yeah, it was. That's a nice press. Fucking Ellie Simon, he's put on a bit of weight since then. That was.
I was gonna say, has your technique changed since 2 years ago, or is it pretty much kind of the same, pretty much the same rhythm?
It's pretty similar, to be honest. You know, since then, I took Dan, our coach. You know, Tom had been coached by Dan for a while. See the scales here quickly. The scales that we got there, we had to buy them in, especially because the scales we had broke a few days before, and they were like, I think almost like they'd be like $400, $500 for the scales. So we had to, But so as I was saying, Dan came on, and sometimes when I'm log pressing, I'll spend a little bit longer with the log in my lap. But sometimes it's just a head thing, you know. I don't know how. I can't really remember how this.
Of course, I think it looks like you did it twice, right? So on the 230, was it? If you had looking back at it, do you think it was just more of kind of like a horsepower thing, or was it a technique thing, or just a lot? That was a lot of emotion hitting the British record, right? And I know you're just talking about how much this plays back in your head every day.
It's really frustrating because I feel, you know, us guys sometimes shoot our load too soon, and I think that's probably what I did in the initial attempt, the 221, and I mean, again, it happened in was this the first time I did it. I think I cleaned the 230 log, or 228 log, 3 or 4 times, you know. So, well, this one, I think that's basically what it was maybe just a little bit gassed, unfortunately, for this one. And the prep actually wasn't the best. 10 days before this, you'll see it actually when the documentary comes out. I think that'll be part of it. So this is a little bit of insight. I actually, I really, you know, hyperextended my left leg, and it was agony. So 10 days before, I think I went for maybe it was a 220, 221 or something like that. It wasn't. It was heavy, but you know, I'd been hitting that week in, week out. It was quite good. But just something happened with the left leg, and it just decked me. It just completely floored me, and it just was a little bit. It was extremely worrying. There's a few things that's happened in the build up to, you know, like the Worlds last year, the log press build up, you know, like just mad injuries, you know, like so that's not an excuse, you know. The legs were fine then, but it was just a worrying time. Thankfully, you know, again with the physio and the recovery stuff that Tom and I both do, it was okay. But I think it was just a kind of, like you say, a gas power thing, just horsepower thing, just a little bit fatigued after that absolutely ridiculous celebration.
If you had to do it, when you maybe next year when you get an opportunity to do it, do you think you'll do like maybe like, let's just say like 190, 210, then the record?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? That's the big question. Because a lot of people have questioned, the training for me up until the record attempt and stuff. And but I'm a great believer as well in confidence, So if I've hit a 225 log in training, then I know going into competition I'll be able to hit something big. It's just how my head works. I know, you work in percentages and stuff, and like maybe you shouldn't go up to over, close to a PB. But going into the actual competition, in my head, from going from 210 kilos to 230 kilos is quite a big jump. So I don't know. It's something that I need to really work out in training and kind of do that. So for me, I think I need to maybe do 200, 215, and then maybe like a 230. I think those 15 kilo jumps for me is quite a good way to be. But yeah, I'll have to try that in training. I'll have to hit the 230 in training, and then we'll see what happens. It's quite funny watching back, the log stuff, because like you say, it was a funny time. It was a strange time in the world when those at home kind of gym records were going on. It was just great to have something to focus on. Like that's all we had to focus on really was, the log press. And then that's probably why in 2019, when Tom came second, I didn't make the final. So I don't think I was as prepped for that because I'd been too focused on the log press. And that was a learning curve as well. It's, do you focus on world records or do you focus on being the best in the world in strongman? So that was a learning curve for me, and a bit of a check, a reality check. I think not making that final. So
I feel like as strength athletes, we want to get a taste of everything. We want to try to fit as much as we can and still be able to get world records and still place high. But sometimes we run into roadblocks and we got to figure out what we do for next time.
Yeah,